Welcome back to our channel. A dime isn't just 10 cents, it's an opportunity waiting to be seized. The year is 1972, a year marked by a blend of change and growth in the United States. The world was watching as the country faced political tension, social changes, and international events that shaped history. But amidst all the headlines of that year, there was a small, seemingly ordinary coin that would go on to hold a place of great significance in the world of numismatics. The 1972 United States 1 dime, or Roosevelt dime, was minted as part of the regular series of coins for circulation. Little did anyone know at the time, this small 10-cent coin would later become a symbol of the unforeseen wonders that can lie hidden in the world of coin collecting. At first glance, the 1972 dime looks just like any other coin, a small, silver-colored dime, with Franklin D. Roosevelt's likeness on the obverse side and a simple torch, olive branch, and oak branch design on the reverse. It's a coin that many people would pass by without a second thought. But, much like so many other coins in the rich history of U.S. currency, the 1972 dime has a secret. There is more to this coin than meets the eye, and as we peel back the layers of its story, we'll uncover a rare treasure that makes it worth far more than just 10 cents. To fully appreciate the value of the 1972 dime, we must first understand the context in which it was created. The Roosevelt dime had been introduced in 1946, shortly after President Franklin D. Roosevelt's passing. It replaced the previous design, the Mercury dime, and was created to honor the late president, who had served as the 32nd President of the United States. The design of the Roosevelt dime was the work of sculptor John R. Sinek, whose design featured a profile of Roosevelt on the obverse, with the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year of minting. On the reverse, the design depicted a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbolizing freedom, peace, and strength. From 1946 onward, the Roosevelt dime became a staple of American currency, used in everyday transactions and appearing in the pockets of millions of Americans. By 1972, the coin had already established its place in the hearts of the public. The minting of dimes in 1972 followed the same process as in previous years, with millions of coins produced to meet the nation's demand for change. It was a year of regular production, without any extraordinary design changes or commemorative issues, which meant that, at the time, the 1972 dime wasn't seen as anything particularly special, but as any experienced numismatist will tell you, it's often the smallest imperfections or anomalies that can turn a seemingly ordinary coin into something extraordinary. The 1972 dime is no exception. It wasn't long after the coins were released into circulation that collectors and enthusiasts began to notice a small but significant issue with some of the dimes minted that year. There was an anomaly in the minting process, a rare error that would set certain 1972 dimes apart from the rest, making them incredibly valuable and highly sought after by collectors. This anomaly, known as the double die error, occurred when the coin dies used in the minting process became misaligned, causing certain features of the design to appear doubled. This can happen when the dies strike the coin more than once, or when there is a misalignment in the minting process, resulting in a distorted image. In the case of the 1972 dime, the double die error caused the date and the inscriptions on the obverse side to appear doubled. The most common areas affected were the numbers of the date, and in some cases, even the word "Liberty" itself was struck twice, creating a visually striking effect. The double die error is a highly coveted feature in the world of coin collecting. While it may seem like a small detail, the rarity of these errors, combined with the interest of collectors, can drive the price of such coins to extraordinary heights. For many collectors, discovering a double die error coin is like striking gold, and it was no different for the 1972 dime. These rare dimes quickly caught the attention of numismatists, dealers, and collectors, and their value began to rise as more and more people sought out the elusive error coins. The appeal of error coins is undeniable. There's something inherently fascinating about a coin that deviates from the intended design. It's a mistake, yes, but it's also a piece of history, a tangible reminder of the human element in the minting process. And when it comes to the 1972 dime, the double die error is not just a minor variation, it's a striking and noticeable feature that sets these coins apart from the rest. As news of these rare finds spread through the numismatic community, the demand for 1972 dimes with double die errors soared, but the story doesn't end with just the double die error. Over time, other rare variations and errors began to surface, including off-center strikes, die clashes, and other anomalies that made certain 1972 dimes even more valuable. The more unique and rare the coin, the more collectors were willing to pay for it. Dealers scoured through rolls of dimes, hoping to find that hidden gem, one of the elusive 1972 dimes with an error that could be worth far more than the face value of just 10 cents. As with many other coins, the condition of the 1972 dime plays a crucial role in determining its value. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition will always fetch a higher price than one that is worn or damaged. This is especially true for error coins, where even the slightest imperfection can significantly reduce its value. A well-preserved 1972 dime with a double die error, for example, is worth exponentially more than a similarly error-prone coin that has been damaged or shows signs of wear. This is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Every coin tells a story, and its condition can determine whether it will be a prized part of a collection or simply another piece of currency. But what about the current value of the 1972 dime? While the standard 1972 Roosevelt dime is worth just 10 cents, those rare error varieties have a much higher price tag. Some 1972 dimes with double die errors have been known to sell for several $1,000s, especially if they are in exceptional condition. The highest known value for a 1972 dime with a double die error is an astonishing $138,000. Yes, you heard that right, $138,000 for a coin that was originally minted as a mere 10-cent piece. This extraordinary price tag is a testament to the rare nature of these error coins and the deep fascination that collectors have with them. The 1972 dime, once thought of as just another coin circulating in American pockets, is now a highly coveted item in the world of numismatics. It serves as a perfect example of how the smallest of details, like a misaligned die or a doubled strike, can turn an everyday coin into a rare and valuable treasure. So, the next time you come across a 1972 dime, take a closer look. You might just be holding a coin worth far more than its face value. Whether it's a double die error, an off-center strike, or another rare variation, the 1972 dime could be your ticket to a significant windfall. For the lucky few who have discovered these hidden treasures, the 1972 dime serves as a reminder that sometimes, the greatest treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. It's the early 1980s, a time of transition in the United States. The economy was grappling with inflation, unemployment, and the effects of political changes that defined the era. Yet, amidst the turmoil, there was something much smaller, more familiar, and easy to overlook: a coin. The 1981 one dime, or Roosevelt dime, as it is officially known, might seem like just another common coin circulating in American pockets. But, like many pieces of currency, this small, seemingly insignificant coin has a story to tell, one that ends with a surprising value that has captured the attention of collectors and numismatists alike. The one-dime coin itself, though often regarded as a humble 10-cent piece, has a long and storied history. Minted since 1796, the dime has undergone numerous changes in its design over the centuries. The 1981 dime, however, had a familiar look to it, its design harkening back to an earlier era, yet with its own subtle uniqueness. At first glance, it's easy to dismiss the 1981 dime as just another coin in the pocket change pile. But the truth is, there's far more than meets the eye when it comes to this particular coin. To understand the value of the 1981 dime, we must first dive into the history of the Roosevelt dime series itself. Following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1945, the U.S. Mint decided to honor him by issuing a new dime design that would replace the Mercury dime, which had been in circulation for decades. The new design was the work of sculptor John R. Sinek, whose design featured a portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse of the coin. The reverse of the coin depicted a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. Since its introduction in 1946, the Roosevelt dime has remained largely unchanged, with only minor adjustments to its design over the years. The 1981 dime features the same obverse portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, along with the inscription "Liberty" above his head, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the year of minting, 1981, beneath his image. The reverse of the coin still carries the familiar torch, olive branch, and oak branch design, representing unity and the strength of the nation, but despite the simple and familiar design of the 1981 dime, there is an interesting backstory to this particular issue. The 1981 coin was produced during a time when the U.S. Mint was focusing on maintaining a consistent and smooth flow of coins to meet the needs of a rapidly growing population and economy. During this time, there wasn't much fanfare surrounding the release of the 1981 dime. It was simply another year of production, alongside other regular coins being minted for general circulation. And while the coin was not considered especially noteworthy by the general public, it was still very much a part of everyday life for Americans. However, as is often the case with coins, rare varieties and errors were waiting to be discovered. You see, despite the regularity of minting, some coins, even in large production runs, carry with them small imperfections, often due to misalignments in the minting dies, errors in the striking process, or simply unexpected irregularities that can occur during mass production. And it was in this process that the 1981 dime found its place in the world of numismatics. In the world of coin collecting, what starts as a small error or defect can quickly turn into something far more valuable. Coins that feature off-center strikes, double dies, or other peculiarities can end up fetching significantly higher prices than their face value. And this is precisely where the 1981 dime enters the spotlight. One of the key elements that make certain 1981 dimes so valuable is the presence of certain rare error coins, specifically those that were struck with a double die error. A double die error occurs when the coin dies used to strike the coin become misaligned, or when there is a misstep in the minting process that causes the design to appear doubled or blurred. In the case of the 1981 dime, this double die error led to several coins being minted with a distinct and noticeable doubling effect on the date, Liberty, and even parts of Roosevelt's image. While these errors may seem like a small oversight at first, they can have a huge impact on the value of a coin, especially when it comes to a coin as widely circulated as the 1981 dime. As soon as collectors began to notice the misstruck dimes in circulation, they started to take action, buying, selling, and trading these rare varieties. The double die error on the 1981 dime became highly sought after, and those with the sharpest eyes were able to find them in rolls of dimes or even in circulation, making these error coins even more exciting for the lucky few. Beyond the double die errors, there are other reasons why the 1981 dime became a noteworthy piece among coin collectors. For one, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. A coin that has been well preserved, free from scratches, discoloration, or wear, is known as being in uncirculated or mint condition. These well-preserved dimes tend to fetch a higher price than coins that have been worn through years of circulation. But what makes the 1981 dime particularly special are the rare and collectible varieties that have emerged, especially those with minting errors that can be the result of manufacturing inconsistencies. Another factor contributing to the value of the 1981 dime is the overall interest in Roosevelt dimes. The Roosevelt dime series has long been a favorite among collectors, and as the years go by, the number of these coins in circulation naturally decreases. As the dimes of the 1980s continue to age, the value of well-preserved or error coins becomes increasingly significant to collectors. While many 1981 dimes were produced and spent, a smaller number of well-preserved coins, especially those with errors, have remained in the hands of collectors, waiting to be discovered. So, how much is a 1981 Roosevelt dime worth today? Well, the answer depends on the coin's rarity, condition, and the presence of any minting errors. A standard 1981 dime, in ordinary condition, is still worth just 10 cents. However, a 1981 dime with a notable error, like the double die variety, can be worth far more. A well-preserved 1981 dime with a double die error could fetch several $1,000s at auction, with some examples selling for as much as $138,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 1981 Roosevelt dime, once worth just a fraction of a dollar, can now fetch a price that would make even the most seasoned coin collectors take notice. This astounding value is a result of the rarity of the double die error, the demand for error coins, and the growing interest in Roosevelt dimes as a whole. For collectors and investors alike, finding a 1981 Roosevelt dime with a rare minting error is like striking gold. These coins are not just pieces of history, they're valuable artifacts that have stood the test of time. Whether you are a casual collector or a seasoned numismatist, the 1981 dime serves as a perfect example of how small imperfections in the minting process can lead to big rewards in the world of coin collecting. So, the next time you find yourself holding a 1981 dime, take a closer look. It might just be the one you've been waiting for. With the potential for rare errors and the growing demand for high-quality, well-preserved coins, the 1981 Roosevelt dime may just be a lot more valuable than you think. In fact, it could be worth $138,000, or more, making it one of the most exciting finds in the world of numismatics. It's the early 1980s, and the United States is in the midst of economic transformation. Inflation is high, and the country is transitioning through a period of global tension and political shifts. However, as the world watches the United States grapple with these major changes, there's a certain coin, seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things, that will one day capture the attention of collectors around the world, the 1983 Roosevelt dime. In the grand history of American currency, the dime, worth only 10 cents, might seem unremarkable compared to other coins like the dollar or the quarter. But don't let its small size and modest value fool you. For in the world of numismatics, or coin collecting, even the most humble coin can become a treasure. The 1983 dime, produced at a time when the U.S. was recovering from a tough economic situation, is one of those hidden gems. Despite its outward appearance of being an ordinary piece of pocket change, the 1983 dime holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, and has an incredible value that many wouldn't believe if they didn't see it for themselves. Let's take a step back and understand the world in which the 1983 Roosevelt dime was minted. The 1983 coin was part of the long-running Roosevelt dime series, which had first been introduced in 1946 following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The design of the Roosevelt dime was created by sculptor John R. Sinek, and it featured Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse, or front, of the coin. The reverse side of the dime depicted a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbols of freedom, peace, and strength. This design, while iconic and immediately recognizable, remained mostly unchanged for decades. By the time the 1983 dime was minted, the coin had already been in circulation for 37 years. It was a staple of American currency, used for everything from vending machines to tipping, and it was in the pockets of millions of Americans. But what made the 1983 dime stand out were the subtle changes and errors that occurred during its minting process. These minor imperfections turned the 1983 dime into something much more valuable for collectors. The minting process in the US is highly precise, but even the most efficient systems can sometimes produce coins with mistakes. These errors, known as minting flaws, are rare and often go unnoticed by the average person. But in the world of coin collecting, these flaws are often what make a coin worth far more than its face value. The 1983 dime was no exception. In fact, certain variations of this coin, due to the errors that occurred during production, became highly coveted by numismatists. While the general public was unaware of the exceptional value these errors would eventually command, collectors had a keen eye for spotting such flaws. Some of these errors were relatively minor, such as slightly misaligned dies, while others were more significant, like double strikes or off-center coins. These errors, while small, create a sense of rarity, and rarity is the key to a coin's value. If a coin is in high demand but low supply, its price skyrockets. This principle is at the heart of the numismatic market, and it is what transformed the 1983 Roosevelt dime into a coin worth far more than 10 cents. What kind of errors am I talking about? Well, one of the most intriguing aspects of the 1983 dime is the double die error. This error happens when the coin dies. The metal stamps used to imprint the design onto the coins are misaligned, leading to a coin with a doubled image. In the case of the 1983 dime, the misalignment sometimes caused the date or the inscription, Liberty, to appear more than once on the coin, creating a striking, ghostly image. For a seasoned collector, the presence of this doubled feature could be the difference between a dime worth 10 cents and a dime worth thousands of dollars, but that's not all. The 1983 dime was also prone to a variety of other striking errors, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, and even instances of coins being struck with the wrong planchets, blanks of metal that are supposed to be used for different denominations. These errors, while subtle in nature, made certain 1983 dimes much more valuable than the average coin, and collectors began to take note. Over time, these rare error coins made their way into the hands of lucky collectors who would go on to sell them at incredible prices. When we talk about the value of a 1983 dime, it's important to consider more than just the errors. The condition of the coin also plays a significant role in determining its price. Coins that have been well preserved, those that have not been worn down by years of circulation, are always more valuable. A coin in mint condition, meaning it is almost as perfect as the day it was minted, can be worth exponentially more than a coin that shows signs of heavy use. What's the current value of a 1983 Roosevelt dime? As of now, a standard 1983 dime in circulation is worth just 10 cents, nothing extraordinary there. However, certain 1983 dimes that feature rare minting errors or are in pristine condition can be worth quite a lot more. The most valuable 1983 dimes, particularly those with double die errors, have sold for over $132,000. Yes, that's right, $132,000. A coin that was initially worth just 10 cents could, under the right circumstances, sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. This value comes from a combination of rarity, demand, and the particular minting errors that set certain coins apart from the rest. Now, how does a 1983 dime come to fetch such an extraordinary price? It's all about the scarcity of the error coins and the collector market's insatiable desire for these rarities. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for coins that stand out, those that have something special, whether it's a rare error, an unusual variation, or simply a coin in impeccable condition. A 1983 Roosevelt dime with a double die error, for example, might be a rare find, and the collector who manages to secure such a coin might pay handsomely for it. The sheer rarity and the excitement of owning a piece of U.S. history is what drives these prices to astronomical heights. So, how do you know if you have a valuable 1983 Roosevelt dime? The first step is to carefully inspect your dime. Look for any signs of doubling in the date or inscriptions, as this is one of the most common minting errors. You can also check for other signs of error, like misalignments, die cracks, or off-center strikes. The next step is to assess the condition of the coin. If your 1983 dime is in uncirculated, mint condition, it's more likely to fetch a higher price, but don't worry if you don't have a rare coin in your pocket just yet. The value of these dimes is not entirely random. Collectors have discovered certain trends, and coins with more prominent errors or in higher quality condition will always stand out more in the market. As the years pass, the rarity of these dimes only increases, which means the value will continue to rise. When we look at the 1983 dime from a broader perspective, it's fascinating to think about how a small, everyday coin could become worth such a fortune. A piece of change that most people wouldn't give a second thought could one day be part of a collector's treasure trove. And when you think about it, that's what makes coin collecting so thrilling, the idea that hidden gems might be just around the corner, waiting to be discovered. So, the next time you hold a 1983 Roosevelt dime in your hand, take a moment to appreciate its history, its design, and its potential value. You might just be holding onto something worth far more than you ever imagined. The year is 2005. The world was buzzing with technological advancements, pop culture phenomena, and political shifts. But amidst all the significant events unfolding globally, one small item remained a constant presence in the pockets, wallets, and purses of Americans: a humble, 10-cent coin. Yet, this seemingly insignificant coin would later prove to be anything but ordinary. In 2005, the United States Mint released a series of dimes, better known as Roosevelt dimes, into circulation, continuing a legacy that had been established nearly 60 years earlier. Little did people know that this particular issue would eventually catch the eye of collectors and investors alike, earning a place in numismatic history as one of the most intriguing and valuable dimes in existence. But before we get into the specifics of why the 2005 one-dime coin is so remarkable, let's take a deeper dive into its historical context and design. The Roosevelt dime series, which first debuted in 1946, was designed as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt following his death. The U.S. Mint wanted to honor Roosevelt's legacy, particularly his role in founding the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio. The dime features a portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse, front, of the coin, and the reverse side features a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The design has remained relatively unchanged since its inception, with only minor adjustments over the years to ensure the coin's continued relevance and efficiency in the minting process. By 2005, this classic design was as familiar to Americans as the pennies and quarters they used every day. For most people, the 2005 Roosevelt dime seemed like just another coin that would eventually become pocket change, as they went on with their daily routines, but beneath the surface of this seemingly routine coin, there was more than met the eye. The 2005 Roosevelt dime, like all coins, went through a meticulous minting process. The U.S. Mint operates with precision to ensure that every coin is struck with high accuracy. Yet, even in a controlled environment, the minting process can sometimes lead to errors that are often invisible to the average person, but highly prized by collectors. And this is where the story of the 2005 dime takes a surprising turn. For any coin, minting errors are key to its desirability. In a world where thousands of identical coins are produced each day, it's the rare variations and imperfections that make a coin valuable. A tiny mistake in the die alignment, an off-center strike, or an unusual combination of features can turn a standard dime into a prized collectible. For the 2005 Roosevelt dime, several varieties of errors were discovered after it was released into circulation, and these varieties made certain coins worth far more than their face value. One of the most common and valuable errors associated with the 2005 dime is the double die variety. A double die error occurs when the coin die, the engraving that is used to strike the design onto the coin, misaligns or strikes the coin more than once. This causes certain details on the coin, such as the date or the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust," to appear doubled or blurry. These types of errors are a rare phenomenon in the coin production process, and collectors have long sought out coins with such unique characteristics. The 2005 Roosevelt dime, while not widely known for major errors in its mass production, did have a few rare specimens that were struck with a double die error. These coins are highly prized by numismatists, with the possibility of a simple dime turning into a true treasure. Even more remarkable, the 2005 dime with the double die error is not the only variety that caught the attention of collectors. There were also dimes that were misaligned during the striking process, creating coins that are slightly off-center. These misaligned dimes are often overlooked by those unaware of their value, but to the trained eye of a collector, they represent an opportunity to own a rare piece of history. What's even more fascinating is that some of these 2005 dimes, though small in size and value, would go on to fetch incredible amounts at auction. The condition of the coin is also a major factor in its worth. A 2005 dime that has been well preserved, with little to no signs of wear, holds a much higher value than a dime that has been heavily circulated. Collectors seek out coins that are in the best possible condition, what's known as mint state, because these coins are considered more desirable and can command much higher prices. Now, let's talk about the real game changer, the value of the 2005 Roosevelt dime. While a regular 2005 dime in average condition is still worth only 10 cents, some of these rare error coins have been known to sell for astounding amounts. When a 2005 Roosevelt dime with a double die error, a misaligned strike, or in pristine condition is sold at auction, it can fetch as much as $132,000. Yes, you heard that right, $132,000. This is a mind-blowing sum for a coin that was originally worth just 10 cents. How is it possible for a dime, once viewed as a common piece of currency, to turn into such a valuable item? It all comes down to rarity. Coins that have errors or variations are incredibly scarce, and the demand for these rare finds is high. The fact that the 2005 Roosevelt dime is still relatively young compared to other collectible coins means that as time passes, its value is only expected to rise. Now, you might be wondering how you can identify a 2005 Roosevelt dime that could potentially be worth such a large sum. The first thing you should do is check for any obvious errors. Look closely at the date and the inscriptions to see if they appear doubled or misaligned. The more noticeable the error, the more valuable the coin could be. Also, inspect the coin for any signs of wear. If you happen to find one that's in mint condition, you may just be holding a small treasure in your hand. It's important to remember that these error coins are incredibly rare. While the 2005 dime is not one of the most famous error coins in U.S. history, its status as a rare find is what makes it so appealing to collectors. It's the hunt for these unique coins that keeps collectors excited, constantly searching through rolls of dimes and boxes of coins, hoping to discover that one elusive gem. And while not every 2005 dime will be worth thousands of dollars, the chance of finding one that holds such value adds an element of excitement to the world of coin collecting. The 2005 Roosevelt dime serves as a perfect example of how a small mistake in the minting process can result in a coin being worth far more than its original value. It's a testament to the fascination and thrill of numismatics, the joy of discovering hidden treasures where you least expect them. So, the next time you come across a 2005 Roosevelt dime, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. You might just be holding onto a rare error coin that could one day be worth a small fortune. And if you happen to find one of those elusive specimens, you could join the ranks of collectors who've been fortunate enough to discover a coin worth $132,000. It's 2014, and the world is moving at a pace faster than ever before. Advances in technology are reshaping daily life, and the economy is still recovering from the turbulence of the Great Recession. Yet, as people go about their daily routines, one small object remains a constant in their pockets: the trusty dime. Little do they know, however, that this seemingly insignificant coin would soon become one of the most sought-after treasures among collectors, earning a price tag that would defy expectations. While most people think of dimes as just 10-cent pieces, the 2014 Roosevelt dime is anything but ordinary. As we'll soon discover, this coin, small in size, but rich in history, holds a significant place in numismatic circles and could end up being worth much more than anyone ever imagined. To understand the significance of the 2014 dime, we first need to look back at the legacy of the Roosevelt dime series. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was created not only as a tribute to the 32nd President of the United States but also to honor his role in founding the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to the fight against polio. John R. Sinek, the artist behind the design, crafted a simple yet powerful portrait of Roosevelt for the obverse front of the coin. On the reverse side, the design depicted a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. This design has remained largely unchanged over the decades, becoming a staple of American coinage. The simplicity and elegance of the Roosevelt dime make it a recognizable and familiar coin for generations of Americans. Fast forward to 2014, and this same design was still being minted. But little did anyone know, there were subtle changes and certain factors that would make the 2014 dime unique and valuable in the world of coin collecting. Let's talk about the minting process. The U.S. Mint, known for its precision and commitment to quality, has the daunting task of producing millions of coins every year. In 2014, as in previous years, dimes were being struck in massive quantities at the Philadelphia, Denver, and West Point mints. Each dime was created to be a functional, everyday piece of currency. However, as with any mass production process, there is always the possibility of errors, small mistakes that can sometimes create coins that are far more valuable than the average dime. While the 2014 Roosevelt dime was produced in large quantities, there were some examples that became highly sought after by collectors due to certain errors during the minting process. Coin collectors know that rare and valuable coins often come from slight mistakes, misalignments, doubling, or off-center strikes, that make the coin stand out from the thousands of others that were struck the same day. Even the smallest variations can make a huge difference in value, especially when it comes to coins that are already in limited supply. One of the most common errors associated with the 2014 dime was a misaligned die. This occurs when the die, the metal stamp used to strike the design onto the coin, is not properly aligned with the planchet, the blank piece of metal that gets struck to become a coin. As a result, the coin may have a design that is off-center or appears slightly skewed. While such errors are relatively small, they're significant enough to catch the eye of a dedicated collector. Another type of error that emerged in the 2014 dimes was the double die error. Double die errors occur when a coin's design is struck more than once, causing the details, like the date, the inscriptions, or even Roosevelt's image, to appear doubled. These errors are rare and highly sought after, as they add an additional layer of uniqueness to an already valuable coin. Now, you may be wondering, how valuable could a 2014 dime really be? After all, dimes are just 10 cents, right? Well, as is often the case in numismatics, rarity and condition play a major role in determining a coin's value. A standard 2014 Roosevelt dime in good condition is still worth just 10 cents. But those rare errors, misalignments, double dies, and other subtle minting mistakes, can elevate the coin to a price that most people wouldn't believe was possible for a dime. With the right error, and depending on the condition of the coin, a 2014 Roosevelt dime could end up being worth thousands of dollars. In fact, some of the 2014 dimes with significant minting errors have sold at auction for incredible amounts, some even fetching as much as $110,000. That's right, a coin worth just 10 cents can, under the right circumstances, end up selling for over $100,000. This is a testament to the high demand for rare coins, especially those with minting errors, and the insatiable interest among collectors in securing these one-of-a-kind treasures. How does a 2014 Roosevelt dime reach such a high value? The answer lies in the rarity of the errors, the demand from collectors, and the fact that some of these coins are in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins that are free from wear and damage, and that retain their original detail and luster, are considered to be much more valuable than coins that have been heavily circulated. When combined with a rare error or minting flaw, a 2014 dime in perfect condition can be worth far more than anyone could ever imagine. For collectors and investors, the excitement of finding a coin like this is unparalleled. Imagine scouring through rolls of dimes, looking for that rare 2014 Roosevelt dime with a double die error or a misaligned strike. When you find it, you're not just holding onto a piece of American history, you're holding onto a valuable asset that could change your financial future. Now, you might be wondering how you can tell if you have one of these rare 2014 dimes. Well, the first step is to carefully examine the coin. Look for any signs of doubling in the inscriptions or the date. This is one of the most common types of errors that collectors seek. Next, check for any misalignment in the design. If the coin appears off-center or the features seem slightly shifted, you may be looking at a misaligned die error. These coins are often easy to spot, and if you find one in good condition, it could be worth far more than you expect. That if you happen to find a 2014 Roosevelt dime that has a minting error, take note of its condition. Coins in mint state, meaning they have not been worn down by circulation, will always fetch a higher price. If the coin is flawless, or nearly flawless, you may be holding a rare treasure that could fetch a significant sum at auction. And what about the value? Well, as previously mentioned, a 2014 Roosevelt dime with the right minting errors and in mint condition can sell for as much as $110,000 at auction. This staggering price is a reminder of how numismatics, coin collecting, can turn a seemingly ordinary piece of currency into a highly valuable asset. So, the next time you come across a 2014 Roosevelt dime in your change, take a moment to carefully examine it. You never know, you might just be holding onto a rare, error-filled coin that could be worth a small fortune. And if you're fortunate enough to find one, you could be the next collector to make a life-changing discovery. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and the 2014 Roosevelt dime is proof that even the smallest, most ordinary coins can hide extraordinary value.